inside. He's tied up by Green. Throws it back up top. James puts up the three. Oh, it's good! LeBron James from downtown as the shot clock expires. A desperation heave, and the Lakers are up 3.
That's Mike Breen with the call. That's Charles Barkley and Stephen A., who are up with us early here today. And so, Stephen A., yes, Stephen A., go ahead.
I'm not going to let you get away with how you ended the last segment, Greeny. You pointed out all those great players that LeBron James might beat. Let me give you a list with MJ. Not only did he have to go through the Eastern Conference, that would mean Isaiah and Dumas and those brothers, okay? When he won his first title, wasn't that against Magic? When he won his second title, wasn't that against Drexler and the crew? When he won his third title, wasn't that against Charles Barkley himself, Kevin Johnson, Dan Marley and those boys? When he won his fourth title, wasn't that Karl Malone and Stockton? When he won his fifth and sixth title, wasn't that against Kemp? And I'm not talking about Sean Klump. I'm talking about Sean Kemp, okay? And Gary Payton the glove. When he went against Karl Malone and John Stockton again. I mean, I'm just saying, since you bringing up Hall of Famers that you had to beat for the title, not to mention the Eastern Conference that you had to go through, it wasn't shabby.
It was. Let me.
First of all, Stephen
Charles,
A., listen. First of all, Stephen A., you are correct. But let me tell you something. Chris Paul is he's the greatest leader we have in the NBA today.
I agree.
And listen, if he's able to beat Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, listen, don't forget Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, Bogdanovich, those guys. Listen,
they can play.
How about Dave? I know. So if and listen, let's get all three of those series on the road. They're going to do whoever they beat. Every game is going to be on the road. Potential game 7. But let me tell you something. Like I say, I hope they don't win the East, the Brooklyn Nets. But if he's able to beat James Harden, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant. First of all, I think he probably needs to beat them in the finals to make my argument correct, to be honest with you. But that would be impressive, Stephen A. You know that, man. Brooklyn is the team. They're under the most pressure. They manufactured that team together. James bullied his way out of Houston. The Brooklyn Nets are the team that's under the most pressure. They have to win the championship or bust.
True.
And they're under the most pressure. They're under the most pressure out of any team in the NBA. When you got those three guys, it's championship or bust, plain and simple.
I agree.
So let's stay there. That's better than where I was going to go anyway. Go ahead, Stephen A. Do you see them doing it? Charles is picking Giannis and the Bucks that come out of the East. What do you think?
I've got Brooklyn. And to me, I think that James Harden is a superstar and Kyrie Irving is a superstar talent and he's box office, no question about it. But I think that Kevin Durant is just so lethal. There is no answer for Kevin Durant. And to me, that's what it comes down to. I love the Milwaukee Bucks and what they've done, the acquisition, the acquiring Drew Holiday, PJ Tucker elevating their defensive prowess. I think that can't be ignored. Middleton still being there with Giannis and Drew Holiday. I think that's incredibly formidable, and they're exceptionally well coached. They've got something to prove. They're under some pressure. But when I look at Brooklyn, KD in his sleep can average 30 on better than 50% shooting and 35% shooting from three-point range. He's that lethal of an offensive force. I believe factor, and I'm not betting against Kevin Durant to lose the title. I'm not.
Well, number one, that's a good pick. You're just wrong, Stephen A. The Milwaukee Bucks are coming out of the East. Hey, listen. Let me tell you something. The Milwaukee Bucks are coming out of the East, guaranteed.
You're definitely wrong now. You're definitely wrong now. I'll take that bet.
Hey, the addition of Drew Holiday and PJ Tucker, I think Giannis has had the quietest MVP year we've seen in a player in a long time.
It was not an MVP year. It was not an MVP year. No, it was not. It was good, but it wasn't an MVP year. Stop it.
Listen, his numbers are the same numbers he's had the last 2 years. They're just holding his playoff failures against him. Giannis has been great all year. But listen, Stephen A., I get held against me. I didn't win the championship. That's fair. And we're holding Giannis not making it to the finals against him, he's been spectacular all year. But
He has.
the addition of Drew Holiday, I think that's gonna be the difference when they play the Brooklyn, excuse me.
Right.
And listen, I think Milwaukee is coming out of the East.
One of the funniest moments, Greeny, was when Charles Barkley went on national TV and said, "I guarantee," and had the broomstick for the Portland Trailblazers. Okay, brought out the brooms after they beat the Lakers in Game 1 last year. Okay, and then what happened? What happened? They ended up losing 4 straight.
They said sports. Hey, last year got nothing to do. That was the pandemic. I wasn't thinking straight during the pandemic. We're coming out of the pandemic now.
Hold on. All right. The other day, how about that? I guarantee Charlotte is gonna win. Wasn't that you? Wasn't that you? Wasn't that you that said that the Charlotte Hornets was gonna beat Indiana? Wasn't that you?
Hey, I was wrong on that one, but I was right on the Celtics, Stephen A.
You are. And I'm wrong enough times too. I'm only playing. I'm wrong all the damn time myself.
do you have the Lakers coming out of the West?
Yes.
Do you, Charles?
Well, Greeny, I'm not even going. I got zero idea who's going to win the West. The West is so crazy.
It's like that.
The West is crazy. Okay, hey.
It's like that. You ain't going to even give us a pick.
The Portland Trailblazers are coming out of the West.
All right, very quickly. Stephen A., you just ran through all the Hall of Famers Michael Jordan beat in the finals. That was all 6 of his finals. I just told you, if he wins the championship this year, he could beat Steph, CP3, Kawhi, Paul George, Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant in one playoff run. If he does that, what will you say about him when we get to July?
I'd say he solidified himself as the second greatest player in the history of basketball. He deserves our praise. He deserves to be on the Mount Rushmore of basketball. But I'm already there with LeBron James, personally. I mean, stop the presses. I mean, my God. I mean, me calling him number 2 all time. I mean, what an insult. I mean, just stop the presses. I mean, I don't even know what to do. I'm so insulting by saying that. Please. He's number 2 all time, but he has 6 NBA Finals losses, and there was a choke job against the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA Finals. We don't get to forget that when looking at your overall legacy and your resume. That is not something that ever happened to Michael Jordan. And I'm not even talking about losses. We've never looked at Michael Jordan and associated the word choke. And that's the reality of the situation. Period.
I have to leave it there. As much as I don't want to, the show's going to end, Charles, whether I'm ready for it to or not. Charles will be on TNT tonight. They've got the East. We've got the West game tomorrow night. Charles Barkley, Stephen A., thank you both for doing this.
Tell my boys I said what's up. Ernie, Kenny, Shaq. Tell them I said what's up, Chuck.
I love you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Same here, buddy.
That was phenomenal. Again, Charles Barkley. Back on Get Up, and in case you were just getting up and joining us, what a night it was. Lived up to the hype in every way. Warriors, Lakers, LeBron, and Steph picked us up on the fourth quarter. Lakers a 2-point lead. LeBron, quiet offensively much of the night, but that's a tough bucket there, and Steph Curry can do nothing but applaud. Oh, but he had plenty of other things to do last night. Steph gave you the whole repertoire last night. Little teardrop. He scored 37. Warriors had a 3-point lead just over 2 minutes ago. Another big moment. LeBron going up, and Draymond Green taking him down. Pokes him in the eye. They would review this. They would rule it a common foul. LeBron would get the eye drops. He'd stay in the game. He'd make the foul shot. So we're tied. 1.5 minutes to go. Still tied. Anthony Davis throwing it down. Lakers a 2-point lead. 30 seconds later. Here's your moment. Tied at 100. Shot clock running down. 3 seconds. 2 seconds. 1 second. LeBron hoists it, and it's good. LeBron scored just 22. But those 3 wind up winning the game. Drake loved it. The stars were shining in the NBA's play-in last night. And LeBron and the Lakers are moving on to take on Phoenix in the first round of the playoffs. The Warriors need to win tomorrow night, and now here we go. I have been looking forward to this all morning long. Ladies and gentlemen, Charles Barkley and Stephen A. Smith get up with us together this morning after a night that lived up to the hype in every way. And Sir Charles, I will start with you. Your reaction last night, LeBron James versus Steph Curry. It was a night the NBA needed, and we got it in a big way. What was your number 1 takeaway?
Well, I thought it was a must-win for the Lakers, so they could avoid the Utah Jazz. It was a terrific game. I think you can see both of them and that's no slight to the Phoenix Suns. It's just an easier matchup against Phoenix. So you see that both teams really wanted to win to avoid the Utah Jazz. That was my takeaway, but it was a terrific game.
Stephen A., how about LeBron knocking down that big shot?
It was luck. You know what? That wasn't Steph Curry shooting. That wasn't Damian Lillard shooting. That was LeBron James shooting. And even though he's improved his three-point shooting, that was luck. That was a Hail Mary. But when you're that great, you're entitled to luck, here and there. And that's what I thought we saw last night. I thought his performance in the first half was anemic. I thought Anthony Davis was even worse. But they both came alive in the second half. LeBron shot 6 of 10 from the field in the second half. And obviously, Anthony Davis showed up and showed out when it really, really counted. So I give a lot of credit where credit is due. They showed the heart of a champion and made sure to avoid the Utah Jazz, like Chuck just pointed out, because they didn't want that matchup. They're not ready for Utah as of yet.
Chuck, was it luck?
It was luck because the shot clock was running down. He had to shoot it. The shot clock was running down. But I will tell you this, Stephen A. is right. The Warriors outplayed the Lakers last night. That's why that game was so important to the Lakers, because they can't play like that and beat Utah. Now, Phoenix is much, and I live in Phoenix. It's just a much, you can play raggedy like they did last night, and you got a chance against the Suns. You can't play like they played last night. The Jazz would have beat them like a drum. So I thought it was a really big win for the Lakers, because this notion they just going to show up and win the championship. Anybody knows anything about basketball, you don't just show up and beat a really good team 4 times in a week. And I thought they were rusty last night. Stephen A. is 100% correct. And that's why they got really lucky to avoid the Jazz.
I will say this, Greeny. Listen, I think that Charles is right on the money. And I think there's a bigger reason you should take every word that Charles Barkley just said with the seriousness and the accuracy that it deserves. Because that whole soliloquy he just gave you was without the word guarantee. Because when he does that, he never gets it right. He never gets it right when he says guarantee.
Hey, Stephen A., let me tell you this one thing, though.
Yeah.
I'm going to be, as you say, I'm going to be blasphemous for a minute.
Okay.
If LeBron James can get this team to the championship, 3 straight rounds on the road in the West,
okay,
and then beat whoever comes out of the East,
yeah,
we're going to have a serious conversation after that, man, because
about what? About what?
Well, first of all, I would move him past Kobe, because I got Kobe ranked 1 spot ahead of LeBron on my all-time list. Mm-hmm. But if he's able to, listen, this is fair. If he's able to win 3 straight series on the road in the West, and he's able to beat the Brooklyn Nets, we might have to have a real conversation about the GOAT. We might have to have that.
You see, First Take hasn't started yet, and I usually save, these kind of diatribes for somebody like a Max Kellerman, because he has no business talking about basketball. He shouldn't even be allowed to talk basketball. But in your case, obviously, I can't say such a thing for one of the greatest players of all time. Here's what I will say to you. I already have LeBron past Kobe, because there's an all-around. I think LeBron is the greatest small forward in the history of basketball, and he brings such a multitude of dimensions to the equation. The fact that, even though he's got 1 ring less than Kobe, considering what we've seen LeBron do, I've got LeBron number 2 all time. I will say this, though. When we talk about him compared to Michael Jordan, there is such a thing called an assassin's mentality. I can take those first 8 years of LeBron James' career, those first 7, 8 years, and that's what I would use to hold against him in terms of the all-time GOAT. Because what he has ultimately developed, it took him all of that time to do, whereas MJ came into the league with that mentality. He just didn't have the personnel to go along with him, with Scottie Pippen catching migraines in Game 7 of an Eastern Conference Finals and stuff like that. You see what I'm saying? So I can't look at LeBron and a performance against the Dallas Mavericks. I can't look at LeBron and 6 NBA Finals losses on his resume and say, excuse me, I'm just going to ignore all of that and give him GOAT status, greatest of all time, over Michael Jordan. And that blasphemy you just uttered out of that mouth with those goggles, Spiano, believe that you can't see the hideous nature of your words. I'm going to give you a chance to correct yourself right now, Chuck. Right now.
I'm going to correct myself. If LeBron James is able to beat the Phoenix Suns, I don't even know who they played. whoever they play in the second round, beat the Utah Jazz or the Clippers, get to the finals. And if he's able to beat the Brooklyn Nets, first of all, I got Milwaukee winning the East. But if he's able to win the championship this year, I think we got to have a serious conversation. We really do.
Hold on. Now, Greeny, I would like to remind you, and don't just bring up your cup and sit back and kick up your fly shoes, Greeny. Listen to what he's saying here. So we got a Phoenix Suns team that's got my coach of the year, that's got an MVP candidate in Chris Paul, no doubt. Devin Booker's a star, but they're a relatively young team that Chuck has already conceded, can be beat by these Lakers because it's an easier matchup for the Lakers than Utah. We got that going on. We look at the Utah Jazz. As formidable as they are, as exceptionally well coached as they are, they just got bounced out in the first round last year. They've got something to prove, so they're relatively young. We look at, Mr. Load Management himself and Kawhi Leonard and the Los Angeles Clippers, who've never even made it to a conference finals in franchise history. We look at the Dallas Mavericks. Kristaps Porzingis can't stay healthy. A feather touches him, and he's on the injured list. We've got Denver that no longer has Jamal Murray. You've got Portland that's a relatively guard-oriented team. They've got talent, but we all know that something's missing. Don't get me started more offensively. And we got Steph Curry without Klay Thompson. That's the West that you're talking about, okay? And then the Eastern Conference, Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant have played 8 games together. We know how formidable they are offensively, but defensively, they put you to shame, Charles Barkley. They ain't think about playing no damn defense. And you're trying to tell me that if LeBron gets through all of that, that puts him above Michael Jordan? Are you nuts?
I didn't say put him above. I said we need to have a serious conversation about
what we got to talk for? What we got to talk for?
Hey, he's got to listen. He's going through a gauntlet. They're going to play all those series on the road. They're going to play
offensively. And we got Steph Curry without Klay Thompson. That's the West that you're talking about, okay? And then the Eastern Conference, Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant have played 8 games together. We know how formidable they are offensively, but defensively, they put you to shame, Charles Barkley. They ain't think about playing no damn defense. And you're trying to tell me that if LeBron gets through all of that, that puts him above Michael Jordan? Are you nuts?
I didn't say put him above. I said we need to have a serious conversation about
what we got to talk for? What we got to talk for?
Hey, he's got to listen. He's going through a gauntlet. They're going to play all those series on the road.